Within a year, the business went from £44,000 in assets to over £1.3 million. That is not a hobby becoming profitable. That is a business being born in a field in the mud. And it started with a man who could barely drive a tractor buying a £6 million farm in the middle of a financial crisis. A farm that is now tied to a business empire worth tens of millions of pounds. This is how Jeremy Clarkson made the impossible possible. October 2008. The global financial system is collapsing. Lehman Brothers has fallen. Banks are failing. Investors are either selling everything or hiding in cash. Clarkson did neither. While the city was panicking, he quietly bought 1,000 acres of Oxfordshire farmland for £6 million. No fanfare, no master plan announced to the world, just a purchase, a field, and a set of keys. At first it looked ridiculous. This was a man famous for supercars, explosions, and shouting at hatchbacks. Now, he owned a farm. And in the first year, the profit was £144. £144. Everyone laughed. A man who had made millions talking about Lamborghinis had bought a farm and earned less than the price of a decent dinner. But that number became one of the most important parts of the story. Because Clarkson had not just bought a farm, he had bought land. And farmland in Britain is not just soil. It is one of the oldest wealth preservation tools in the country. Agricultural property relief can allow farmland to pass to children free of inheritance tax. The £6 million purchase is now conservatively valued at around £12.5 million for the land alone. So even before the television show, even before the shop, even before the beer, the land itself had become a serious asset. But the real explosion came when Amazon arrived. When Clarkson's farm was first announced, many people in British agriculture were skeptical. A famous television presenter stumbling through harvests, breaking equipment, annoying locals, and pretending to be a farmer. It sounded like a joke. What they did not understand was this. Every episode was also an advert. The farm was the set. Amazon was paying for the cameras, and millions of viewers around the world were watching diddly squat every week. Every tractor breakdown became content. Every failed crop became a storyline. Every council refusal became drama. Every argument with Kaleb became marketing. Clarkson had created one of the most powerful farming brands in Britain almost by accident. The farm itself could barely make money, but the story of the farm was incredibly valuable. And that changed everything. The farm shop began as a simple shed with potatoes, local produce, and a hand-painted sign. Then the show aired. Suddenly, people were queuing for hours. Not because it was the most convenient farm shop in Oxfordshire, not because the honey was cheap. They queued because they wanted to be part of the story. Buying something from diddly squat became more than shopping. It became a connection to the show. A jar of honey, a bag of potatoes, a bottle of sauce. They were souvenirs from a world people felt they knew. The council's local sourcing rule, which limited what the shop could sell, should have been a problem. Instead, it became part of the brand. Everything had to feel local. Everything had to feel real. And that made the business stronger. Within a year, the business went from £44,000 in assets to over £1.3 million. Then came Hawkstone. At first, the brewing industry probably thought it understood exactly what this was. Another celebrity alcohol brand, a famous name on a bottle, a drinks company doing the real work behind the scenes. But Hawkstone was different. Clarkson used barley from his own farm and nearby farms. The story was not fake. The farming connection was not a marketing sticker. It was the product. By 2025, Hawkstone had posted sales of over £21 million, nearly tripling from the previous year. It became one of Britain's fastest-growing private companies. It was stocked in major supermarkets and thousands of pubs. The brewery expanded, the staff grew, the brand became bigger than a joke from a television show. Because customers were not just buying lager, they were buying Oxfordshire barley. They were buying British farming. They were buying Clarkson's story in a bottle. That is exactly why staying independent mattered so much. If a giant international brewer ever swallowed it, the brand would risk becoming exactly what it was never supposed to be, just another lager. Without the farm, without the local supply chain, without the story, Hawkstone loses its magic. The business model is the brand. You cannot separate them. Then came The Farmer's Dog, a pub built around British produce, British beef, British spirits, British ingredients, even when they cost far more than the imported versions. On paper, it sounds insane. Clarkson himself joked that it was a brilliant way of turning 100 pounds into about 94 pounds. But the pub is not just a pub. It is another stage. It sells British farming. It creates filming locations. It gives customers another reason to visit. And most importantly, it sells Hawkstone at full margin. The food might lose money. The beer makes it back. That is the machine. The farm shop builds the brand. The brand sells the beer. The beer supports the pub. The pub creates more content. The content brings more visitors. The visitors buy more products. It is not just a farm. It is a flywheel. Even the council battles helped. Planning refusals should have slowed everything down. The car park problems, the restaurant shutdown, the endless arguments with West Oxfordshire District Council. For most businesses, that would be a disaster. For Clarkson, it became television. Every refusal became a scene. Every inspection became tension. Every argument became another reason for viewers to care. The council thought it was controlling the farm. In reality, it had become part of the show, and every obstacle made Diddley Squat more famous. Then there is Kaleb Cooper. Without Kaleb, the show does not work. He was already part of the farm world before Clarkson turned up. His knowledge was real. His frustration was real. His chemistry with Clarkson was real. Audiences could feel that. Kaleb was not a polished television character. He was a young farmer trying to explain reality to a man who thought enthusiasm could fix everything. That made him one of the most recognizable faces in British agriculture. And it gave the show something money cannot easily buy: authenticity. Then there is the BBC. Clarkson was sacked after the infamous incident involving a cold steak and a producer. At the time, it looked like a disaster for his career. But in the space left by that sacking, he built something far bigger than anyone expected. A farm now tied to millions in land value, a shop turning over serious money, a brewery valued in the tens of millions, a pub employing large numbers of people, and a television series that made farming interesting to people who had never thought seriously about it before. That may be the most important part. Clarkson's farm did something years of official campaigns failed to do. It made ordinary viewers understand farming. The weather, the costs, the rules, the tiny margins, the frustration, the risk, the absurdity, and the pride. When Clarkson talks about VAT, inheritance tax, planning rules, or food prices, millions of people now understand why those things matter. Because they have seen the consequences play out on screen. That is the real achievement. He did not just build a business. He turned a loss-making farm into an entertainment brand, a retail brand, a beer brand, a pub brand, and a public education machine, all from the same muddy field. The 144 pounds profit in year one should have been proof that the whole thing was hopeless. Instead, it became the origin story. The potatoes that failed, the wheat that struggled, the restaurant that was shut down, the car park that was refused. Every mistake became content. Every disaster made the brand stronger. Every obstacle pushed the flywheel faster. A farm nobody thought would work has become the proof of concept an entire industry is now trying to understand. And the most ridiculous part is this: nobody in Britain looked less likely to build it. A television presenter from Doncaster, sacked by the BBC, mocked for making 144 pounds in his first year, standing in a field covered in mud, trying to work out how a tractor works. And somehow, from that disaster, Jeremy Clarkson built one of the most powerful rural business machines in Britain. The farm that nobody believed in did not just survive. It became the impossible made real. But here's the thing nobody's asking. If a 144-pound profit turned into this much of an empire, what happens when the next series airs? If you want to see exactly how far this flywheel goes before anyone else catches on, subscribe now, because we're about to find out together.